Hello, my name is Dr. Luke Bell. I'm lecturer in molecular horticulture at the University of Reading in the United Kingdom. This is a screencast of material originally made available for the module Principles of Horticulture and Crop Production from the years 2020 to 2025. Please note that some of the details may now be outdated.
So the learning outcomes for this screencast are to name the different types of cucumber varieties and explain why these have been bred for a diverse number of shapes and sizes, give examples of the main cucumber producing nations in the world, describe the optimal conditions for growing cucumbers in a field, describe how cucumber production can be maximised in a glasshouse, and give an example of a disease that affects cucumber crops. So just to give a broad introduction and a little bit on the origins of cucumbers. So the main cultivated species is called Cucumis sativus, and cultivation of cucumber is thought to have originated in India. However, it was popularized in Roman times and was spread throughout Europe as a vegetable crop, and it was later spread throughout North and South America, where it's still cultivated today. So there are many different types and cultivars of cucumber, and this reflects differences in size and shape, and differences which have been selected for through breeding for specific uses and specific markets. So one of the major components of determining the suitability of a cucumber for a particular market is the length to width ratio. So in this diagram you can see there are two main different types of cucumber in terms of growth habit. So there's a bush type and vining types, and both of those can either be what's called parthenocarpic. So there's some cultivars which are seedless, whereas other cultivars require pollination, and cucumber plants, as we'll look at in other members of this family of plants, they have what's called monoecious flowering, so they have both male and female flowers. So pollination is very important for the production of these crops. And then in terms of the market, so cucumbers can go to a processing market, and where they might be mechanically harvested, destructively harvested, or hand picked, and those could typically go for pickling. And then there's the fresh market, where they're typically hand-picked and have a long length to width ratio. So this slide just shows you the main differences and the main different types of cucumber. So in the UK, we're most familiar with the English or hothouse cultivar of cucumber. However, if you're from the Americas, the American slicing might be more common and is typically used for things like processing. There's the pickling cucumber, which is, as the name suggests, used for pickling. Then there's more diverse types such as the Persian and lemon types, which have been developed and bred over many centuries for different cultural purposes. And the lemon variety, despite its name, doesn't actually taste like lemon. It reflects the kind of colouring of the skin, and as you can see from there, it wouldn't be recognisable straight away as a cucumber, but it is the same species as these other cultivars. In terms of field cultivation, it's not cultivated. Cucumbers aren't cultivated in the field in the UK, but across the world it is a common crop, which is sown and planted at very high densities. So cucumbers prefer fertile, well-drained soil of a pH range of between 6 and 7, and acidic soil should be avoided. Plants respond well to nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium fertilizers, and plants are capable of withdrawing large amounts of nutrients from the soil. So after a crop has been harvested, growers may want to re-fertilize the soil to make up for that large amount of nutrients which has been withdrawn by the crop. So cucumber plants can be grown with or without a plastic mulch, but whether they do or do not have that mulch, precision seed spacing is required. Seeds are usually planted at a depth of between 1.3 and 5 centimetres, depending on the soil type. And in short season areas, plants are often transplanted out into the field from glasshouses, much in a similar way as lettuce plants are, for example. And that transplanting may reduce the time to harvest by up to 2 weeks, and also potentially help to extend the growing season. So cucumber in row spacing is usually between 23 and 31 centimetres, and between rows of 0.9 to 1.8 metres, and that's to facilitate, if they are being harvested by hand, the people and machinery moving in between the rows. So density of these plants can be between 18,000 and 29,600 plants per hectare. And higher planting densities obviously result in higher yields, particularly for pickling cucumbers. But destructive harvest productions where the cucumbers are going for processing can be much higher density, so anywhere from 123,500 to 22,300 plants per hectare. So in those situations, spacing is obviously much closer, so between 10 and 15 centimetres in row spacing and 31 to 71 centimetres between the row spacing. So plants, as cucumbers are obviously predominantly made up of water, up to 95% of the fruit is water, they require a large amount of water and irrigation. Also, they require access when they're flowering to bees and pollinators, and that's essential for the non-parthenocarpic cultivars, which need cross-pollination between the male and female flowers on the plants. So glasshouse cultivation, as I mentioned, is quite intensive, and large amounts of fruits can be produced within a glasshouse. It's an important method of production in North America, Europe and Japan, where the outdoor climate might not be as suitable for growing cucumbers in the field. So this allows for year-round production of cucumber fruits. And most of these cultivars are F1 hybrid, parthenocarpic or seedless varieties. Plants can be grown in a variety of media such as rock wool, gravel or sand, and they're fertigated, so their nutrients come from nutrients within the watering solution. And as you'll see here, similar to how tomato plants are grown, the cucumber plants are suspended from the ceiling by string or rope, which holds the plant up and allows for quite dense productions. Temperature control in the glasshouse is very important. So cucumber crops prefer a very warm climate, so between 25 to 28 degrees C in the day, and at night time between 17 and 18 degrees C. High light intensity is also beneficial for maximum yields, and many glasshouse productions may also implement carbon dioxide enrichment, so that's at levels above atmospheric concentration. So atmospheric concentrations are currently around about 410 parts per million. So within glasshouses that can be supplemented up to about 1500 parts per million, and that enables much higher biomass in the plants and much more production of fruits. So in terms of harvesting, crops can be harvested repeatedly by hand as long as the plant keeps flowering. Fresh cucumbers can be individually wrapped in film to preserve their freshness, and that's quite common in European markets. They should typically be stored between 13 and 15 degrees centigrade and at quite high humidity, so around about 90 to 95% humidity. They have a shelf life of about 1 to 2 weeks, and they shouldn't be stored at too cold a temperature, as that can result in chilling injury. There are numerous diseases which affect cucumber plants, but perhaps one of the most common and prevalent is powdery mildew. So in this slide you can see the white powdery fungus covering the leaves of plants, and this tends to be exacerbated in humid conditions. So as humidity rises, so does the prevalence of fungal pathogens, and this can be ameliorated by widening the planting density. So if plants are quite closely spaced together, it increases the humidity around the leaves. So one of the ways of combating this later in the season is by spacing the plants a little bit further apart. So in summary, cucumbers are popular Vegetables bred for a variety of shapes and sizes. Their shape and size dictates which markets they are suitable for. China is the biggest producer of cucumbers in the world, but smaller nations such as the UK and the Netherlands, where glasshouse productions are more common, have a much higher yield per hectare. Plants can be grown at high density in fields but have a high nutritional requirement. Field-grown plants can be destructively harvested for pickling or by hand for the fresh market. Glasshouse productions of cucumber can be highly productive and are hand-picked year-round. Cucumbers are susceptible to downy mildew if grown in conditions with high humidity. So in the second part of these screencasts, we'll be looking at melon production.